Hello, everybody. Welcome to this episode of Unloaded with Stephen Ferris and John Barclay. This could have been an horrific episode, lads, because of what's going on in Wales. And it's just come through now that there's no strike.
They'll be gutted.
Would they be striking if they won the first two games? I don't know. I'm just saying.
There you go.
I'm just saying.
And invigorated.
And the biggest thing is, I don't have to pay 470 people their money back.
Of course.
Yeah, is the marquee open, Shanks? The marquee's ready to rock and roll?
Oh, she is now, mate. She is now. I got a Queen tribute band called Flash. I got Impersonator. I've got the lot. And I've been twitching for a while over it.
Yeah.
It'd be bouncing, won't it, though? This kind of place now, after what's happened, it will be as lively as it ever will be for that match.
It depends who they're going to pick. I don't know a lot of what's going on. I know the game's on, but I don't know. My phone is just going mad at the moment with people texting through. But I don't know if they're putting the strike back or they just agreed to play the game, because it's obviously worth probably over 10 million to the union, let alone the Welsh economy. So all the hospitality trade, or the pubs, the hotels, restaurants, shops, everyone that relies on these big weekends, it's forecasted for. So, it's huge, boys. It's huge. I mean, this is what the Principality Stadium is made for, isn't it? That's why it's in the middle of Cardiff. It's made for rugby games. Let them play. Yeah. Let them play. So I'm over the moon. Otherwise, you would have got the Welsh version of Stevie Ferris today on the show. You haven't.
Look at you, Shanks, as well. Look at you. It's the first time you've recorded from your gorgeous, spacious bay window. Really flashing where some of that money went to that couldn't go to the current players.
Do you know why? Because it's obviously half term where we are. And my wife and 3 kids have gone to Alton Towers. They arrived there, and it was a special pirate takeover weekend, so none of the rides were open.
Oh my God.
They drove 3.5 hours. So I'm home alone, guys. I'm home alone, and I'm having a brilliant time.
I bet you are. Speak to me about we just see it on social media, really. The news. It strikes me as maybe not the best choice of words, but it occurs to me that I remember when England went on strike years ago, and they were lambasted for it and greed and what they do. And it seems to me that everyone's on the player side in this one.
Everyone. I will answer, John, if you stop eating, because I can't stand people eating.
Because
you're one of those.
No, my auntie-in-law just brought around some homemade flapjack, and it's sensational. And my wife just brought me a cup of tea. So,
how old is she? Your auntie? It's like the Little Britain sketch, isn't it? Listen, they're striking over various things which should have been sorted out like a year ago, and the main point is players have not signed any contracts. They're out of contract, so they're still playing at the moment, and they don't know whether they're required or not next year. How much actual budget teams have got. So we've seen 2 casualties this weekend of Dimitri Arhip and Jack Dixon, who are both out of contract and have both got long-term injuries. The money's going to be less. It's about £2.5 million less. So teams are going to have to be tighter, which means players will have to go. So it's not just one thing. It's loads. It's the international. It's the cap rule as well. Gatland's law, of having 60 caps, that either has to lower or go completely. They're on 80% wages, and it's going to be 20% in bonuses. So there's loads. It's like, what is the vision of Welsh rugby? Is it purely to provide certain players, like 30 players, to the international team? Because I think it has been over 15 years, and everything is about Team Wales. But when that doesn't work, when you don't get success there, you start to look a little bit deeper, and then you realise actually, regional rugby is pretty poor. There has to be a strategy for Welsh rugby domestically. We have to be competing in the top 8
Shanks,
in Europe in the main comp.
Shanks, I didn't actually understand this, but it's not just the players we're talking about here. It's the backroom staff, it's physios, it's like team managers, it's like everybody just reads, myself included, just picks up the paper and sees that Wales players are going on strike, but they're representing everybody from academy kids who are maybe signing their first deal to the likes of Alwyn Jones, the most capped player, and they're all coming together to take a stance for on everybody's behalf. Is that right?
Yep, because a lot of the Welsh players are pretty well looked after, and they're the elite, so they're gonna find work. But it's the ones that are unsure of where they are. So exactly what you said, young players, sort of non-international players that actually don't know whether they're going to have to move next year because they're not wanted by the club, or whether they've got work, or they've got bills to pay, they've got maybe kids, wives to support. They don't know what they're doing next year because they can't sign because no budgets have been agreed. And all the business of signing is normally done before Christmas, and we're 3 months left of the season, and players just don't know where they are. This has been a long time coming, boys, because there's a lot of Welsh players that will be overpaid because the NS38, which is the national squad of the elite 38 players that are picked, those wages are dictated by Warren Gatlin, Wayne Pivac, and maybe a couple of others. And these wages are really high, and probably higher than what the players are worth. Definitely higher than some of them. But yeah, and that has a knock-on effect then below for the remainder of the players. So all of a sudden then we're paying players well over the odds because it's all related to how much the NS38 again paid. So we got to a stage now where we just can't afford 4 regions. The money that's been dished out or on the table. If the regions take it, yes, they can survive another month, another 2 months, but it's not sustainable enough. So,
like Gatlin Law's the killer, though, isn't it? That's the one that's like, well, if you think you're getting those guys are getting overpaid, but they can't leave because they don't have 60 caps, so they're stuck.
It's too many. I think 60 is too many, but I still think it is a good law. It was a good law. Maybe not now because of what the funding model is going to be for Wales, but I think it was a good law because you want the best players playing in Wales. You want the likes of, like, I saw what happened with Faletau and Liam Williams when they came back to Cardiff, and all the excitement, all the kids having role models to look up and meet and watch play live. And I think if you didn't have that law, you'd lose all of your best players in Wales, which we might do going forward.
You say that, but I mean, I would sort of question, like, you look at like when you probably first started, Xavier Rush, Ben Blair, or you look at the Ospreys, Marty Holla, these guys were like pin-up boys for the regions as well. I think there's different ways to do it. I think the 60 cap rule.
But you still had all of the superstars to go with them. You had the Mike Phillips, the Lee Burns, the Shane Williams, the Shanks.
Not everyone's going to leave the not everyone's going to leave the way. Like, that's the thing.
No, not everyone, John, because not everyone will be able to find work. But I think the top players will. There's already talk about Joe Hawkins leaving for Exeter. There's talk about Liam Williams, Josh Adams, all leaving for big contracts in France or Japan. Max Llewellyn has left. So I think you'd be surprised about how many players would leave if they could. And there'd be a lot of teams that have got, all teams say they've got no money until someone they really want comes up and a big name comes up and they're like, right, here we go. Yeah. Yeah, we found some budget somewhere. So,
Shanks, what was it like when you played? Was there signs of the issues when you played?
We struck once, and that was purely overpay about how much we were getting from Wales. I think it was to do with appearance fees and win bonuses. So that was it. That was the only strike we had. And I remember it was 2002, and we were going to New Zealand to tour, and we struck at the services. I was in London already, but the rest of the team struck at the services, hid at the services, and didn't get on the bus. Right, so everyone was at like Cardiff West services. You had like 35 players all waiting there. And then the WU found out we agreed terms, but we missed the flight. So we had to we paid our own way. We paid for an extra night in a hotel in Heathrow, and we had to do fitness up and down the main road, the A4 of Heathrow, doing shuttles. And honestly, we're all coughing because it's such a busy road, and it was like fumes everywhere. And the worst thing was the next day when we flew, there was only like 10 business class flights left, and we had to get all different flights out and sit economy for 24 hours to get there. That was the worst.
Oh, God.
Obviously, we're precious, aren't we, when we travel?
Yeah, when I was
Yeah,
at Scarlets, we I said when I joined 2017, and I remember going down there, and lads are like, "Oh, we've not been paid."
Didn't mention.
I've got a shirt in the background today, standing up for my Welsh brothers. And I remember lads saying, "Oh, we've not been paid image rights," and I said, "Oh, well, this month." I said, "No, for like 3 years." And I was like, "You what?" And then like kind of an acceptance from players that was the norm, and financial, benefactors were going to dish out the teams. And even then, you're like, "How is this sustainable?" But like you say, the whole system was geared towards Wales being successful, and as soon as that stopped, that generation of players, naturally went through its cycle. The next generation are left. It's pretty hellish right now.
You ever had a strike?
So how do we change? No, never any strikes. There was debates, obviously, with us being in the north to the south, because we didn't get a sportsman's tax relief, and that's still the same way now, which is obviously massively unfair on us. So, like, we had a debate over exchange rate because we were getting paid in euros. So, like, we got a better exchange rate than the guys, obviously, in the south. So it balanced it out, but that only lasted, a year or two. So yeah, never any strikes. But the model that we have here in Ireland, when you speak about English rugby's, what's happened to it, Welsh rugby's in a hole. Why don't we just copy Ireland, copy their model? Look what they're doing. All these players coming through Leinster, coming through the schools. But it's not as easy as that. It's not as easy as just having a plan there and just trying to copy it. And ultimately, it comes down to cash, because we all know how much money there is in Dublin, how much money there is in their school systems. I think there's parents, like, their kids go to school and they're happy to throw 50 grand a year into the school pot just to keep everybody happy. So, like, how does with budgets? It's going to be tighter. Purse strings are going to be tightened up a little bit more. So, how do you get back on the straight and narrow? How do you get the volatility of Welsh rugby level pegging again?
I'm not sure how we're going to actually agree terms with players, with the PRB, with the union. First thing would be to look at the £5 million loan, which is still payable by the 4 clubs, which was taken out during COVID. Similar in England, a loan was taken out, but that was by Sport England, I think, and it wasn't a loan. It was given to the clubs to survive. So they got £5 million, which they've got to pay off over the next 20 years, which is quite a lot of money. And somehow they need to come better terms with that. They've renegotiated it, but I don't know whether the Welsh government needs to step in, whether the WRU needs to step in and wipe that loan, because that's overhanging the clubs, and it will do for a long time now. The money that's on the table is £2.5 million less, so they've got to function on that, and they're not really functioning that well as it stands. So there has to be greater funding, Stevie, I think, and the WRU needs to look at that. The long-term investment plan they put together was to build a hotel, and that will be an investment, but it's a long-term investment, and I'm not sure why they did that when there's so many short-term issues in rugby at the moment, and where that money could have been spent better. They need to look at a funding model to produce more money for the clubs, because what is the strategy, as I said, for Welsh rugby domestically? Is it just to provide players, or do they want it to be competitive? Or another option could be, I don't know how you're going to get to 2 teams or 3 teams. I just don't know how that's going to happen unless teams go into administration, which might be the big plan for the WRU that we aren't allowed to say or not mention, because it's easier if a team goes into administration than the WRU or whoever says, right, we're getting rid of a region. I don't think they can do that. I think the funding at the moment would work for 2 or 3 teams, or they pick a team and they say, right, you are going to get more resources. You're going to get more money, because we need 1 representative of Welsh rugby in top tier competitions. We need them in semi-finals, in quarterfinals of the Heineken Cup. We need them in the top 4 of the URC. And then we grow the game that way. Because at the moment, we've got 4 teams who are down the bottom. They have some success throughout the season. All the teams really bar the Dragons have had a period in the season where they're performing quite well, whether it's Europe or whether it's in the league. But
so just to cut across you, Shanks, so to go back to like what Eddie Butler was talking about, God rest his soul, about going back to the clubs and going back to what was the life and soul of Welsh rugby 15, 20 years ago. Do you think that's just never going to happen?
I don't think commercially you can, because the clubs are so close together. Already you've got Cardiff and Newport trying to draw in the same commercial revenue from sponsors that are in that area. Same with the Scarlets and the Ospreys. So that is going to be difficult. I don't know whether 2 teams would be better, but how do you get to that? And then you make the league stronger. So the Premiership, which is the league below, more funding is put into that to make it stronger. So academies aren't producing the players for these 2 or 3 super teams. It's the league below. So your Cross Keys, your Pontypridd, your Cardiff RFCs, your Glamorgan Wanderers. This league we strengthen, and this league becomes the feeder for the 2 or 3 teams, and then the 2 or 3 teams becomes the feeder for the national squad. But there has to be an emphasis on domestic rugby in Wales. Anyway, guys, look, John, wake up, mate. We're back.
Back in the room.
I've had enough airtime now. I have had enough airtime. We haven't got a guest this week because Ben Egan, our presenter, as he said, he's been putting out fires, whatever that means.
All week.
Right? Yeah, exactly. He's having lunchtime beers and ploughman's for lunch, and he's forgot about this show. So we haven't got any guests whatsoever. So we're going to have to go straight in to the weekend's rugby. And number 1 game on my list, Glasgow, Ulster. Which one of you wants to start? One of you start and the other come in.
Yeah, good idea. Stevie thought Ulster were going to win. John backed the winner. It wasn't a great game, Stevie, was it? It was weather was poor. I just thought, and we spoke about it live on air, I think it was pretty touch and go. Not much. I think it was 8-5 at half time, and then Glasgow bench came on. Front row, they brought on a full international front row. Ali Price came on. Jack Dempsey, who played 8, was brilliant, and Ulster had no answers. I was pretty disappointed in Ulster how they played. Just their, I know the weather was bad, but we also saw in the first 20 minutes the teams could have handled it better, and they tried to play with width. So I think you've got to show a bit more to your game than just one-out runners. And the good teams now will just defend that all day. We see that at international level. You got to offer so much more. So I think it kind of summed up where Ulster are at the moment, a bit one-dimensional. Their maul kind of got working, but not really. Glasgow dominated, scored 3 maul tries. But yeah, I don't know what you think. I don't know where else to go. I found Dan McFarlane's comments a bit bizarre. Yeah. I know he was pissed off after the game, but got asked by Marshy, what do you have to focus on this week? And he said, I need to focus on our travel plans to South Africa. And I was like, that's. And you said, Steve,
maybe maul defence would be top of the priority, wouldn't it? An area of the game that Ulster are so strong usually that they get absolutely obliterated, in the maul. And you've players here: John Andrew, Greg Jones, Kieran Treadwell, who's just been drafted into the Irish squad, just ambling about. Yes, the weather conditions were tough, but it just feels like when you put it up the Ulster's maul that they really struggle for other options. I think Billy Burns is struggling for form and has done all season. John, you probably pitch in, but anytime Ulster got the ball in attack, they went lateral. Many times did we see Jacob Stockdale or Ethan McElroy touch the ball. Very limited. Where flip the coin over to the other side. I thought Glasgow got some of their big runners into the game really early, really well, and caused Ulster trouble a lot. I actually think if it had been a dry evening, that Ulster could have got 20 or 30 points put on them. I think they hung in there for large parts of that second half. And yes, they did bang on the Glasgow door for maybe 15 minutes spell in that first half. And they obviously scored a try through the young fella. But apart from that, just again, it's one of these things where as the competition goes on, I'm just really struggling to see an Ulster team that's evolving from the last couple of seasons.
Steve, when you go to Scotstoun, right, and the conditions aren't great, how important it is to just start well. Like, you've got to start well, and the first kickoff goes up.
Yeah, Nick Timoney, yeah.
And you're just thinking that has a knock-on effect. Then you're thinking, oh, here we go.
It's almost like the weather was that bad that the team without the ball, you probably would have been happier. Like, obviously, if you're playing in the right areas of the pitch, and that's something that Ulster didn't do. They didn't kick the ball enough. They didn't kick the ball well enough. And it was the turning point, as John said, when Ali Price was brought off the bench, nudging the ball in behind, end over end. The wingers, I don't think Jacob or Ethan caught, maybe once Ethan caught a high ball cleanly. All the box kicks were right on the money. Like, it's a night for just sending it down there, good kick chase, living the opposition's mistakes, and then try and capitalise off it. And it was a really immature performance, I think, by Ulster. And I think Dan McFarlane's every right to be really pissed off after the game, because his team just didn't come out of the traps in the second half.
Yeah, I thought, I totally back up. I think it lacked maturity. I think it lacked sort of tactical nous as well. If you're going to play a direct game and it's not working, well, then use your kicking game. But they only did that with 20 minutes left when it was too late. And I think you look at the centres, as Hume and Moore playing, and Stockdale had some big ball carriers, and we spoke about them pre-game, the way that Moore in particular hits good lines at that seam off the back of lineouts. That you can still do that in those conditions. You can't tell me off a dry ball off line you can't get the ball to that person's hands, but it was drive, one out carrier, try and milk him out. It didn't happen. So, yeah, I look at the end of from where they were Ulster, and I think they're still struggling a bit of a hangover from that 6 or 5 games they lost on the trot around Christmas. They don't know that they've got confidence. They don't know that they've got answers at the moment.
I tell you, Glasgow, remember at the start of this season, we were just saying, what is going on with them? They're up, they're down, they're up, they're down. Like, they people like Sam Johnson are so vital to Glasgow, I think. He's an international player, and he can play that level, but he's not picked at the moment. But you still got him, Stafford McDowell. You just got quality players. They've got a very good squad, I think. Yeah.
Sorry, Shanks. I was going to say, we spoke a lot of time talking about Ulster. I think Glasgow have got the bit between their teeth now. For whatever reason, from where they were game one, and they've won tricky games, and they've got a bit of confidence going. That wasn't really how I didn't actually think they had that good a maul, Glasgow. That was the thing that surprised me. And they got it.
But it's an edge, John. It's an edge. It's a physicality like that we haven't seen for years. Like, and maybe that's the South African influence of Franco Smith, going in there, and I don't know. They just looked like they were at it in that second half, especially when they emptied the bench, like, and just that edge, which is great to watch. Like,
yeah, we'll move on now. But Glasgow are my little wild card, I think, for maybe to push Ulster this year if they can keep the form going. When I say Ulster, I meant Leinster.
No, I thought you'd be being a prick.
No. I think they could push Leinster. They're playing that good at the moment. Right, next game: Munster versus Ospreys. Give us your Irish perspective on this. Even though Ospreys were missing 14 players, just want to say that.
Yeah, Zebre looks like he's lost a couple of pounds. He's still a big boy, but he was playing.
He's like a Tuilagi on the wing, isn't he?
He is, but I'll tell you what, he still can shift. Like, he's still going all right. I thought Antoine Frisch was brilliant. Coombs, look at this, just tip on the inside. Poor tackling, obviously, too easy. The big man gets over for the first of his tries. Joey Carberry was good. Klein was good. Paddy Patterson, scrum half. He's been brilliant.
Set themselves up really well there, really early. Got themselves back. Great movement as well. Yeah.
What do you think of Frisch in the centre? I know I've sort of been banging the drum about him, Shanks. He runs good lines, his silky hands, doesn't he?
Yeah, really good. Really, he's one of these. You look at him. He's not. He doesn't look like a Fekatoa, does he? You know, he's not covered in muscles, but he's silky. And
I look at the way that Munster play now, and they've tried to run. I think everyone tries to run the same shapes that Leinster run, but most teams do it to a poor stand. And I think Munster now are kind of there. They're doing it flat to the gain line. And yes, the defense was poor, but the tries they're scoring, the way they're executing, like multifaceted rugby decisions on the gain line, is brilliant.
Fekatoa's best game, do you think? Do you think it's Fekatoa's best game so far?
Yeah, I think so. I think he, a lot of involvements, didn't he?
Yeah, but like his partnership with Frisch, I think, is good because you've got guys. It's a bit like Marnonu, Conrad Smith, isn't it? You've got like a silky player on the outside, someone with good hands, you know, knows where the space is, knows how to get the ball. Then you've got someone who's pretty robust next to him, so it works well. I think off the options off the Taylor line, that was really good for Munster. We saw one of the tries there. Daly scored there, but they just had option after option. I was really disappointed with the Ospreys because they still had lots of players in there, lots of players who thought they should be in the Welsh squad, and people were saying they should be in the Welsh squad. You know, your Morgan Morrises, your Nicky Smiths, Owen Watkin was back as well. So there was quality there, and they were on a bit of a roll after Europe as well. Montpellier home and away, Leicester as well. I expected a lot more from them. Yeah, nothing wrong with losing to Munster away in Munster, but put a fight up, do something. Defence was woeful at its best, you know. But yeah, so not the greatest for the Ospreys because last month I think they might have been team of the month if we had one. Moving on to Scarlets v Edinburgh on Saturday at Park of Scarlets. I was there with Mossy. First time I worked with Mossy.
You've always said horrible things about him as well, haven't you?
Great guy. Only behind his back. Only behind his back.
Yeah, that's fair enough, actually.
Allowed to. No, great guy. Love working. Chris Patterson, that is, for those watching who aren't quite sure of Mossy. But Scarlett started really well. Started big. Really nice set piece move. See this a lot. Just good decoys. Held really well. Steph Evans there holds his pace really well. And sometimes you run that line, and that is the break line. That is, you're running through the line. That's where you want to do it, but he doesn't. He holds his feet back. Really
Should have been a penalty.
He wasn't held, I don't think. This was big. This is just poor Edinburgh play. Ball bubbles in Mark Bennett's hands. Fafita picks it up. Good luck stopping him. You know, if you're a 15 at the back there, you wouldn't want this. Lousy as well. Brilliant. Fafita and Lousy, honestly, boys, are absolutely amazing. Yeah. They're amazing. And I think they're now starting to calm down a little bit. They're not quite playing on the edge as much as they used to. This annoyed me. I don't know if it at least got hands up, 2 tries, 2 fingers. I think why pass it?
Gareth Davis 100% is calling for that because he's a little rat.
But if he's not expecting it and they mess up, I know they don't because they score.
Gareth Davis ain't dropping that, mate. Gareth Davis will have a try-scoring bonus in his contract or something.
That was the only thing I thought of. Just a joke. They would like that.
Just on that, Shanks.
Yep.
On Fafita playing in the back row. Obviously played in the back row as well for New Zealand, but we've seen him in the second row all season. Something that Scarlets have been missing is like an extra ball carrier, a bit more in the loose. And he seems like just in that game alone, he seems to have just got his hands on the ball and be able to open them up, stretch out his legs and open up.
Yeah, a lot of it was down to the breakdown, Stevie. They're really good in the breakdown all the way through that game. They dominated Edinburgh, slowed Edinburgh's ball down, were able to play off a pace that they wanted to. Fafita, Lousy and Callum Afomi, that's 3 massive carries. But as I said, like discipline, they didn't have a yellow card. Can you believe it?
Mm-hmm.
They were clean. And that's been a big thing for them. Red cards, yellow cards. I think they've had 4 reds, maybe 12 or 14 yellows. I can't remember off the top of my head. But they were physical and they were good defensively. They were off the line. Edinburgh, I think, got it all wrong tactically. Like they weren't winning collisions. yet they were still adamant on playing the ball back really deep. And it ended up the Scarlets, just line speed, just absolutely munching up all of the gain line for Edinburgh and hitting them back over the line. And they didn't really have too much to offer in that second half. So, and they had a good team out, didn't they, John?
They had a good team out, yeah. 7 internationals in the pack. Damien Hoyland, Mark Bennett, James. I mean, they had. I'm looking through the team now. They had 3 internationals in the back line. West Houston, yeah, they were poor, and I think they're in a bit of a hole at the moment. Edinburgh,
I think they are.
They're really struggling for. I think in a similar position to Ulster, just struggling for a bit of form and confidence and edge, arguably a bit of identity of how they're trying to play the game, and it's not going for them because they've got a good squad there, just not putting it out on the pitch at the moment. So yeah, lots to work on. They're conceding. We said it. They're conceding too many tries. 42 points against Scarlets is just way too many. So yeah, I don't know what's back. Yeah, good to see him back. Good to see him back fit. He'd be desperate to obviously get back in. I don't know. Be a big cut. I don't know if he will get back in just because you wouldn't change a winning team. I don't think there's no reflection on him. But yeah, yeah, Edinburgh now. You know, I sort of thought maybe start of the year they might sneak a home quarter final, or they're looking like they're struggling to make the playoffs at this rate.
Yeah, so, maybe. But Scarlets might win the Welsh Shield, which I know is massive here in Wales. It's a big thing. We take it really seriously. So can't wait for the photos at the end of the season. Who's won it. But they're unbeaten this year. Yeah,
they're going well. Good to see.
It was only that Ospreys game where Lozano got a red card, which apart from that, from the 11th of December onwards, they've been pretty faultless, really. Next up, we've got Cardiff, Benetton. So big game this was. You know, Cardiff's form has taken a big dip. It was good for the sort of second quarter of the season, and they want to be trying to challenge top 8. Benetton were obviously ahead of them. Home game, they needed. There's a big game for them because they needed the win, and they started off really well. Started off big. Set piece was good. Really good line by Owen Lane there. Obviously, Max Llewellyn, big threat. He's back fit as well, which is good. Need a bit of fortune. That is nice. For a team that's under a bit of pressure, you take them, don't you? And Owen Lane got a second brace. But scrum was huge. One of the Benetton props went off. Look at this. I mean, I'm not a back row, but I reckon even I could have scored that as well as you two. Yeah, exactly. So biggest thing for them was set piece was good. There was also a red card in the game. Albanos, have a look at this. I hope he gets a big ban for this because this is just stupid. Look, he's come in for no reason. What's a 10 going to do?
Yeah,
he's not Byron Hayward.
He's handy.
Look, watch this. Hand goes in. Kieran Azarati's face.
In the eye. Madness.
That's cheap. That's horrible.
That should be like 6 months, shouldn't it?
Yeah, it should be a long ban for that. What do you reckon, Steve? You're quiet. Probably been banned for something like that, haven't
you? Yeah, I just think it's petty, isn't it? I don't know. I think I'll probably be one where I'll be like a 40-week ban, and then because he's been really good, and if he goes to eye gouging lessons, he can get like reduced to like 3 weeks.
Yeah, go to the optometrist for his checkup.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so decent for Cardiff. Conditions weren't great, but they played them a lot better. Better King game. Jared Evans went off injured. A little bit of a worry, maybe, but set piece was good. Leinster Dragons, next game up. Do you watch it, Steve? Or do you want me to take it?
Yeah. Well, what more do you want to say? Like, I know Leo Cullen touched on, like, he thought I think the word he used was patchy, or sort of along those lines anyway. I don't think he was sold on the performance. I think because they got off to such a good start, and then the Dragons sort of held in there for 20 minutes. So in that period of time, Dragons played some half decent stuff and probably deserved their try as well. But yeah, like, what more can you say about Leinster just continually using
this is where players. this was the issue with Dragons, right? They had more possession, more territory than Leinster, which you wouldn't think would really happen in a game like this. But it was just error after error. Like they did play some good rugby, but after 3 or 4 phases, we were watching the game, we were just thinking something's going to happen now. They're going to lose a ball. They're going to knock it on. And you're talking basic errors like, what's that? You know, if you want to put teams under pressure, if you want to be competitive, these big moments you have to nail. Another one down. And this was all the way through the game. And they were physical. They were good, but they couldn't keep the ball for probably 4 or 5 phases. Watch this one now. Something happens here.
Oh, no.
He goes to kick it and someone tries to take it. It was a calamity of errors. And
Shanks, they held on to the ball better than you think, because like the Leinster back row made nearly 60 tackles between them in the game. Like, and I know you said it's maybe like 4 or 5 phases, and then there was an error that maybe cost them 50 or 60 yards up the pitch. But like, I think you know, Leinster are so good at putting a big score on a team very quickly, and I don't think that the scoreline probably reflected the way the Dragons played at times.
I think you got
you could say that.
It's bread and butter, that, isn't it? They run straight and Leinster
scored straight away. Scored early doors.
They're going to eat it up. I just think you look at the quality Leinster having. You know, O'Brien, Larmour, Kearney, Bird, McGrath, Alatoa, Maloney, Ruddock, Penny, Deegan, and they're missing about 30 players.
You could say
the
score is,
he keeps going.
Yeah, it is. You could say the score isn't reflective of the game, but it doesn't matter how long you keep the ball for. It's about taking the chances of being clinical, and that was the big difference between Leinster and the Dragons. Was like they just got that killer instinct. They know this was a good try, though. You know, if you're going to beat Leinster, you got to do something different, and this is really well worked straight off the training field. Look at this. They practice this. Oop, off the head.
Got his hands out the way.
That's class. That is. Look at that. He knew it was coming as well. That's just a
forward pass, like, in fairness.
Forward as well, isn't
it? But do you know what? I think. Do you think sometimes when you see tries like that and you're a bit dubious about a forward pass or not, do you think if the game was close, the TMO would spend more time over it? But because the game was won, it's just like move on. They can have a try.
Yeah. Okay.
So Leinster unbeaten. I think they'll go through the season unbeaten and win the league. Who knows though? Bulls, Stormers. Big crowd here. Over 40,000, I think.
It's a record, Shanks.
Yeah.
Is it not?
Of the final. Yeah, I think it was in South Africa in the URC. So, yeah, repeat of last year's final. Really enjoyed this game. That's a great ball, isn't it, from Yanchis?
Yeah.
To Thiessen. I mean, they had a couple of looks at it. It went back. Have a look at this. Look at the counter ruck here. Do you really want to be counter rucking on the side? Because watch Pocamella now. Just makes it easy. Ends up there. Ready? Counter ruck on the side. I'll have that space.
Straight in.
Yeah.
Not even affecting the ruck. But it was close all the way through, which is exactly what you want in these derbies. It wasn't the high-scoring game that maybe we thought it would be, but it was thrilling all the way through. And a Manny Lebock drop goal at the end seals it. Not sure what we're looking at here.
Actually, decent try.
This Ben's just done this in the pub, lunchtime. Yeah.
Decent. And Kosi obviously his ankle there. Pissed off at the end.
Hurts leg, didn't he?
I think the South African teams lack a bit of defensive structure. It's a bit boring, but like that first try for Stormers, do you know what I mean? Where's your winger? And you see that all the time with the Stormers, and that's why and they did that last year, to be fair. They didn't have the structure. They just had X factor players. I just question whether they're going to have enough to beat Leinster this year. And that's the question, isn't it? Will they have enough?
You're after a job. You're after a defensive job.
Nah, no chance. We can't get any worse, Shanks.
Did you ever see John's tackling? He was the trip tackler.
Speed bump, Speed bump.
The trip.
Back to Jacko, wasn't I?
Made a career of tackling people without going to ground.
That's a Dan Park
But-
special.
Yeah. Foxy.
Pulling people over the line. He's pulling people over the line. Right, 2 more games. We've got Zebre 34, Connacht 57.
Yeah,
All
was it
scoring
14
games.
tries or something? Yeah, 14 tries in the game, 15 tries maybe.
Yeah,
Some
none of
really
them were
good tries.
because we got no clips.
Thanks.
Well, it was half decent. Yeah, I said it last week. It was asked the question, "Oh, you're getting into the week off in between the Six Nations. Do the games matter?" And I was like, do you know what? If the Irish teams got 4 wins and Ulster lost, but if they get 4 wins, it sort of feeds back into the national side as well. And like obviously Connacht going away to Zebre, getting a resounding result there is brilliant. So I think a lot of positives to be taken out of the performance. Andy Friend, we know he's leaving at the end of the season. Something that we didn't talk about. I know he wasn't playing, but Bundyaki is obviously a Connacht player at the minute. Will he be a Munster player next year? Who knows? Malachi Fekitoa's contract has been moved aside, and his 2-year deal has seemed to have turned into a 1-year deal. So watch the space there. But I think Connacht suit the half decent weather as well. They're a team that likes to throw it around. I know most of the time you go to Galway, it's lashing down with rain and it's a pretty difficult night. But job well done by the Connacht lads.
Stevie, if you could pay for another Welsh Irish province, who would it be? If it wasn't Ulster.
Sorry?
Pay for another one. If you had to play for another Irish province, forget how good the teams are, who would you play for? If they're all in.
I think he'd say Connacht.
Munster
and Leinster.
Nah, I couldn't play on the plastic pitch, so I have to go for Munster.
Oh, that must hurt.
They've got
the fields of Athenry.
Well, we watch. We've got 3 more minutes before John Barclay has to leave us. He's got something planned on a Wednesday night. Not sure what that is.
Just to go for another checkup, Shanks.
Speed dating. I don't know.
Speed dating. Yeah, dude.
Lions Sharks.
Give you an update next
Sharks
week.
bonus point win. Sharks bonus point win over the Lions. 4 tries. Cohen Bosch was player of the match. Got a try. Pretty much outplayed. Lions start to finish.
Next one, presenter's choice.
Kicking game was a lot better. Kick the ball. Play the conditions better. You know the score. Right, presenter's choice. We don't have a presenter's... No, rants of the week. Any rants of the week?
No.
I got one. Player release. There should be player release for the Welsh regions. I'm not sure whether the strike has something to do with it, but release some of the boys. Like, let them play. You've got a massive squad. Release some of the players that aren't involved. Give them a bit of game time. Otherwise, you're going to have players that are playing for...
Yeah.
Play for a month, 5 weeks. That's my rant of the week. Don't know if I've got any more. I could probably think of some more. Anyway, presenter's choice. Unless you boys got rants, John, you have a rant? No, we do. Normally a man full of issues.
Just get players paid. Basic.
Yeah.
Look after players.
And they look after you. Right, presenter's choice. I'm making this one up. We've got 2 favorite boots you ever worn through your career.
Is there a choice or just have to answer that
Nope,
one?
just that. Like you obviously had your own sponsors. Was there
Puma.
a boot in a certain year? Yeah, but
Puma, 2009.
Oh,
Is it Puma King?
No, it was like a really lightweight boot. It was like almost looked like there was fiberglass in it. Yeah, I wore them when I was scoring tries for fun for the British and Irish Lions in 2009.
Preds.
Yeah.
The blue Preds they did. The black.
No, I'd go before that.
Oh, really?
I reckon that there was a like white Preds that came up before the blue Preds, because the blue Preds were the rugby ones, weren't they? And all the rugby boys
rugby
were
ones. Yeah.
But it was the white ones before that where you could wear any boot you were allowed.
Oh,
They were the ones. So,
did you ever wear a pair of boots, Shanks, that weren't black? Because obviously you retired a lot. Like,
yeah.
you're way older than me and John.
Yeah, of course it did. White, silver, a pair of silver Reeboks.
Oh, I know
Did,
those
yeah.
ones.
One, yeah,
Yeston Thomas, not Yeston Harris is wearing, didn't he?
yeah.
How do I know that?
Won a Grand Slam in them, whatever. All right, one more before we favorite crisp. What's your favorite crisp?
Easy. Doritos.
Oh, Doritos.
Chili ones.
Yeah.
Oh, chili heat wave Doritos. Oh, great on a hangover.
McCoy's.
You'd be steak
McCoy's. Yeah, steak McCoy's.
And a Yorkie.
Of course it is. The most manly crisp.
Yeah.
Or you would have some Tato cheese and onion. So the Tato Castle's just down the road from me here in a place called Tandragee. So go down there, get a couple of bags of Tato.
I'll either go salt vinegar chipsticks or pip it on your Monster Munch. Right. Moving on now. Final thoughts. Six Nations preview. Discuss. Italy, Ireland first, Saturday, 4:15.
30 points.
I've already put my predictions out there. Ireland by Thursday.
Garbisi's back there.
No, he's not going to be on the bench, I'm hearing.
Oh, is he? Okay.
Well,
yeah, I think we all agree. 35
Yeah.
points for Ireland. Will Sexton play? Yes or no?
no.
Okay.
James
Wales
Ryan, captain.
Wales v England.
England.
Yeah, I think so. France v Scotland. This is the big one. This is huge. It is.
Come on, Jack.
It is. That's my.
Why is Stevie laughing?
I want Scotland to do well. You don't, but I do.
Yeah, no. I want Scotland to turn up.
They've lived in our shadows for years, Stevie. They've lived in our shadows for years. Let them see the light.
Soft underbelly, like Stevie says. We'll see.
We'll see.
And I say the reason I don't think they'll have enough to beat Ireland, but I just say it'd be brilliant to have that game at Murrayfield with something on the line, knowing that Ireland go to Twickenham or in Dublin the last weekend.
Yeah.
And Scotland have Italy at home the last weekend. So it'd be brilliant if Scotland can get a victory against France and then know they've got Italy last.
I think they could, John. I think they could. I think it's not. A couple of years ago, you'd say it's going to be tough, but they've got momentum. They've got a good bit of form at the moment, but France is tough. You can also watch Sharks v Ulster and Lions v Glasgow live. That's on Saturday. That is on Viaplay.
I'll be doing that.
I think. Oh, will you?
Yeah, I'll be there big time.
You're not doing any rugby at the weekend?
I prioritise Viaplay. That's what I do for the lads.
Yeah.
Me and Bobby and Graham. Watch out, Dublin.
Cut me. I bleed purple and white and a bit of red. That's what the colours are. And black. Anyway, that is it. Short and sharp. Well, 48 minutes. Hope you've all enjoyed. Thank you for listening, and we will see you all in a couple of weeks. Take care.